yet.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We're right here live from the Messenger Studios. I'm Steve.
This is Mark. And we are here to talk to you today about the debate last night. It was a it's a little bit off year because of all the things that's happened. It's technically the second debate, but the first debate of the act between the two contenders, and so that was made it a little bit different than in most years. And I don't think I've ever had it so contentious about just whether or not to have a debate or not.
Well, I definitely think that we might get to see a second debate. I really don't know the way the playbook has been for choices and options. I think what will happen is they may take this away as a high and say, we don't need to debate you anymore. Or I would hope that we come back for a debate.
They being the Harris campaign?
Yes, the Harris campaign.
The Harris campaign...
I'm sorry. No. It's not the Harris campaign. It's the Democratic Party campaign.
Because she's...
pawn.
She's... so let's just talk about, first of all.
I'm listening.
First of all, we talk about who won the debate. So first of all, let's just define what we mean by win the debate.
Well, before we get into that and jumping right in, first, everybody, welcome back, Mark. I'm so glad to get to see you again.
Yeah, well, we were here last week, so
we were, but
we're getting back on the scale. Back on the rails here, so we're doing good.
You're looking better too. I'm sure that's going well for you.
Yeah, I lost a few pounds. Less stress right now. Still, recovering. I got a little ways to go. A couple, probably about 2 or 3 weeks of just recovery, and then I'll probably be back to my regular work and trying to get back on a regular schedule. So but this is it's afforded me some time to kind of just reflect and think about things, and which is a good thing. So
I get you.
Yeah.
Just want to talk about a couple things going on with the Republican Party before we jump in. This podcast is about the last night's debate.
Yes.
We want to get into that, peel it open. We're going to talk about who won, who didn't win, from what perspective.
Yeah. So, but Republican Party. So one thing we want to talk about today, we'll make sure everybody is aware that we have postponed the Lincoln Day dinner. It was scheduled for September 26th. We're going to move that out. We don't have a new date for it yet. We are going to push that out a little bit, but we will have a Christmas party on December 12th, and we are starting to go ahead and take reservations for that.
Yeah.
And we're setting up speakers for that as well. We will have an election night party. I think we're trying to get the VFW for that.
I got the pricing for that already. So
so we just haven't nailed down whether or not we are going to the VFW or another venue. So but more to come on that. So that would be November 5th, and then we'll have we will have an event in October. We're working on putting together a Trump train and a Trump store, like a Trump pop-up store, as well as like a chili dinner or something like that. Now that may morph into being our Lincoln Day dinner instead of the chili supper. So that's why we haven't really pushed it out there too far yet. So and I think that's October 19th is what we're looking for.
And this Monday is the Republican Party meeting. I got to tell you, you need to come. If you are a registered Republican, this meeting is for you. It's for.
I mean, if you care about what's going on in politics, and you want to make sure that, like, when you're part of the party. It's not just come and work and go knock doors, blah blah blah. There's a lot of things that happen. Like right now, you can when you're as part of the party, they're asking us to make phone calls on behalf of Donald Trump, and there's a whole system set up for us to do that. They need people to do that, but we need you to come and let us know that you're available so that we can get you set up on those systems.
Yeah.
So we will have a meeting on this Monday at 7 p.m. It'll be at 2714 Brandenburg Road. That's in Brandenburg Station, out on basically out on 313. just before you get out, before you get to 1638 on your way out of town in Brandenburg. So come and see us. Come and talk to us. 7 o'clock. We'll have Trump signs available. We have some Trump gear available. You can, come and support your president.
Well, so what I was also trying to highlight is if you are a registered voter and you want to know what the party is doing in the county in preparation for these meetings are for you. They're for you to address the questions. We do get local participation from our local elected officials. Nancy Tate makes appearances at these meetings.
Steve Meredith is there.
Steve Meredith is also there.
Yep.
Judge
Brett Guthrie will come in from time to time.
Yeah, we get judge executive, your magistrates you're elected for the Republican Party typically show up at these meetings. It's a great time to engage with them and party politics for what's going on in the local area. I think our voter strength is at like 51% to 49% ish for comparison between the number of registered voters for the Republican Party against
almost 50. We're working on 52%.
Yeah. So if you are sitting behind your television and you're watching this stuff on the national level, but you want to know how to get involved locally, this is the place to do it.
If you want to get involved nationally, get involved locally.
Yes.
And then that plugs you in to those other campaigns and things.
100%. Also, there's been a lot of inquiry about getting a yard sign. We have plenty of signs available. If you want a yard sign to represent the Republican Party on your yard, you can reach out to us. We have plenty of Trump signs, and then we have swag. So if you're the proud wearer or supporter of the presidential candidate for the Republican Party, Donald Trump, we have Donald Trump hats and other things that are for sale that you can pick up at that meeting on Monday night.
Yeah, you can do it at the meeting. You can give us a call, or you can give us a call and order at 270-945-3418. Yeah. We'll be glad to get you down. And when there was a lot of people who came, let me say one thing. There was a lot of people who came to the fair and they signed up for some gear. And then we tried, we've been trying to call back to those folks and verify sizes and things like that, because it wasn't real clear on the form that we put together. So if you signed up at the fair, give us a call, 270-945-3418. Let us know what your size is and things, exactly what you want, so we can make sure we get that to you. But we've done very well on signs and things. We've got 4x4 signs, 4 foot by 4 foot. We have 4 foot by 8 foot signs, just a handful. And then we have a lot of the regular yard signs, the 18-inch by 24-inch signs. They go in your yard with on the wires and such. So.
My last point for getting started, before we get started, is just like to take a quick moment of silence in remembrance of those on 9/11.
Yeah.
So just want to know that we've come a long way since then, and we should never forget.
That is, it feels like some people are starting to forget, or they're trying to distract from these things that are important. All of us have a story about where we were on 9/11 when we found out, when we heard. I was at work, and I remember somebody coming into my office. I was a general manager of a plant at that point, and somebody came into my office and said, "Hey, a plane just hit the World Trade Center." And you're like, wow, oh wow! I mean, because LaGuardia is right there, just southwest or southeast of there. So you're thinking, well, it could be, Kennedy's not far away.
Yeah.
Could it be? Well, no. Come to find out, well, then another one hits. When you hit one, it could have been an accident. Two hit, you knew something was up.
First attack on American soil since Pearl Harbor.
Yes.
So, today is a somber day for a lot of us. I'm doing exactly what I was doing on that day, but I was at a radio station in the morning as an Army soldier, and we were alive like this, and the general manager came in and said, we're under attack. We're under attack. And it was, the guy that was on the talk show that runs the morning talk show invited me on, representative of the United States Army.
Right.
And I was doing recruiting.
You did a lot of media back then.
Yeah, Fairmont, West Virginia. I mean, Facebook wasn't a thing back then. It was in 98.
Yeah.
And it was right before, well, it was in
2001.
Yeah. And so radio was the place to be. And when that happened, of course, the talk show host was a former, Air Force guy. So, and he was in radio television for the Air Force. So it was really cool. But
I remember that moment. It's like, and then you walk outside, they grounded all planes and things, and you walk outside and the sky is empty.
Yeah.
And you've just never seen that. Mm-hmm. The feeling of that day, the quiet.
Oh, yeah.
When you walked outside, no matter where you were, the quiet. Everybody was inside watching.
Yeah.
And it was like, wow. It's like you just, I'll never forget that moment and the feelings that we had about that day. And there was a lot that happened that year. Because you remember that was the year that we had the post office had the anthrax and all that. And that affected us because my job was working on postal equipment.
Well, and like the experiences we got during COVID, security measures changed across the planet everywhere. So,
couldn't walk to the plane with your loved one anymore.
Speaking of security, that threat has probably grown immensely. If you go to any of the FBI's websites, any law enforcement or sites that feed from National Down, talk about the threats being up and that they can't track all of the folks that are potentially in the United States right now because of our borders. Which lead us into the debate last night. So I'll let you get us started off on the debate.
So here's my take. So last night, the debate, I've heard a lot of people, you included, talk about, how well Kamala Harris did. Mm-hmm. And I think that she did from a performance standpoint as far as just her demeanor versus Trump's demeanor. If you base it on that, she won the debate. However, I believe...
let me comment.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so on performance, though, she achieved... in her response, and of course, we can conspiracy theory this all day long, back and forth. This closed circuit. I've never been in a situation where I've seen that much control from the candidates over the media. Being able to dictate how they'll do a debate versus the media dictating, no, we want to ask questions.
Because I was starting to allude to that earlier before we went on. Mm-hmm. It's just a strange time that that we're in, right?
And it's so I've never seen the media so accommodating instead of holding accountable. And
that's a good word, accountability, and that's in my notes a lot.
If any candidate,
either way, Either way.
I think that because of the nature of this and the ability to rehearse and practice for specifically this situation, and given the questions that were asked, because clearly we did not ask investigative questions.
There were some strange questions last night.
Clearly,
was there a reason to bring up Obamacare?
Yes.
Was there a real reason to bring up Obamacare from the?
Because it baited her to take it down a pathway.
It gave her a path.
Platform. That's right.
But it was a strange question to ask in this day and age. And I thought Trump's response there was pretty spot on.
But the problem is that in this debate for undecided candidates, and that's really probably who we're focusing on, is their ability to have confidence in her over him because he showed and displayed the character that most people don't want to see out of Donald on a frequent and regular basis. Just stick to the policy. So in this...
But on that particular question, though, I think he did pretty well because he answered the question. Did you remember what he answered?
It's not...
He said that... Okay, well, you make your point because I don't think it's as bad as you think it is.
No, it's not the whole question, but the performance given by her... She did and achieved in every question what she set out to do. She ate up his time by baiting him, and he ended up using up more of his time trying to defend himself and take away from the time that he could have spent on his policy versus the time that he could have spent just talking about policy. It's like she put him in a situation where he would the Bronx, I think Brooklyn, and defend himself. Yeah. You know what I mean? Who you talking to?
Well, I mean,
talking to me?
Their whole
you know
the whole strategy came out early that their strategy was going to be to try to bait him,
and it worked.
But he didn't. It did to an extent. I mean, he didn't just get nasty and just. He didn't completely focus on it.
No, he didn't. But it took time because he.
Well, yes, but I mean,
and her composure during the whole performance, I think that she did
I think that you're missing the one thing I think that is missing in that is she didn't tell you anything.
I agree.
I mean, because I was going to let me say this. You can say that she won on demeanor or debate performance, I think he still won on policy. But really and truly, let's talk about the big loser. The big loser last night was the American people because we didn't learn anything new.
That's right.
We didn't get anything new out of that. The same things that we've been hearing in advertising and from pundits and things is the exact same thing we got last night. So Trump doesn't always say exactly the right thing the right way. But when he comes down to his policies win, and his policies are good policies for the American people. Kamala Harris doesn't have a lot of great policies. She wants to spend money she wants to give money away in hopes that you'll vote for her, or at least tell you that she's saying she'll give you money if you vote for her. But she doesn't have, those policies are inflationary policies.
Right, I got it. So
if you give $50,000 to every small business, that just puts more money. Money's got to come from somewhere. You're gonna put it into.
I got it.
Into the. I want to support small business, but you support small businesses by deregulating and lower taxes. Give them tax breaks.
Don't give them money.
Yeah, if you want to give me a $50,000 a year tax break up front. Take it. Then give it to me and let me go. Then let me go build. So I'll build for the next 3 to 5 years.
Right, but the point I'm trying to make about the whole thing, you're right. On every aspect you're talking about, but to the undecided, uneducated voter who is just the 8-second swipe and gets all of their information from an algorithm and social media, and then they get to watch this debate, and now all they're going to get in the aftermath of this is that she won. Without any investigation into what the policy is. The educated voters are going to make an educated decision. They may not think like you and I about business because they're not business minded. You and I know that money's got to come from somewhere as a business owner.
Yeah.
Not every voter is going to see that. But
it comes from sales.
Yeah, no, I got
Your money comes from sales. It doesn't just appear.
But if you're paying more in taxation, $50,000 looks great. I might as well stick it in the bank so I can pay my taxes this year. So it makes it feel good for now, but it's not going to feel good in the long haul because that $50,000 couldn't make me money unless I just stuck it in a money market account and hoped it grew. But because you do good policy during the time that you're president.
Yeah.
But and that was an interesting thing that I saw last night before the election is the market is not going to fluctuate much. Because it's not the president who wins, it's also who owns the House and the Senate, because the president is not going to get much done legislatively or anything that's going to have a major impact if it's offset in politics inside of the legislature.
But mute me real quick. I've got to take a call.
Okay. So back to the question I had is if we are going to have a candidate that is going to say one thing and then do another, then we're going to have another problem because, a lot of promises were made when Biden ran for office. And when Biden ran for office, he said, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. And then all of a sudden, those things got turned off immediately. The pipeline. We spent oil reserves. We have utilized more of our oil reserves than we can possibly recover unless we open up our own resources to refill our reserves. And our reserves are in place for a specific reason. And not to just talk about the many other policies. You cannot keep spending money the way we have. The evidence is right in our inflation. I think today I heard in Hardin County, the food banks and stuff like that, they had raised some more money to be able to distribute food, but the average increase in food costs is up by $3,000 a year, and fuel costs are up similarly for the average household. When you're adding $6,000, and when these Trump taxes go away at the first of the year, if they don't vote to bring them back, that $6,000 that you're paying because the increases in inflationary items like food and fuel are going to get to the point where you can't even afford them any longer because the tax bracket comes down. Now you're going to pay higher taxes plus this inflation rate. A family that makes $50,000 or $60,000 is really only going to see about half of that because they're going to be spending more than 50% of their earned income on state fees, right, to have a car, vehicle, drive back and forth to work, the grocery bill. And thank you to the state legislature. They said in Allison Ball's office, we're going to drop down another 0.5%, I think, in 2026. So that means we're going from 4% to 3.5%. And thank you, Brandenburg, for raising it back up 1% when y'all finally get around to approving that because of the League of Cities. But at the end of the day... That's
another day.
It is. But at the end of the day... this stuff costs money, and every time that the Democrats in this campaign in the last 3.5 years have wanted to spend all these social projects on what's supposed to fuel the economy, they're giving you something up here. Look over here. Don't look over here. And that's the kind of politics we've dealt with for the last year. I remember a time, and I know it was thrown up in the debate a lot last night, Mark, and you're more than welcome to chime in, but for one party to say that we have divided the nation is absolutely absurd.
It's absurd. Oh, my gosh.
Now, I'm sorry.
We don't play race politics in the Republican Party.
But forgive me if my Christian values are more aligned with the certain policies that exist within the candidate.
Yeah.
We had a great podcast last week with Pastor Ryan from Journey Church on the Messenger Studios, and it was solely driven on Christian values. Now, if you heard Nancy Pelosi recently this week, she said there's 30% of Republican voters that'll never change because of their affiliation with Christianity or other things, right?
Yeah.
And she basically singled us out. That's divisive.
That is the divisive language that's dividing us.
Yeah.
It's not us saying that we are trying to. Donald Trump is trying to simply do one thing. He's trying to make everybody have the exact same playing field.
Yeah.
Trying to make sure that he lowers regulations for businesses so that they can make jobs, so that they can expand and make jobs in a safe way. We're talking about regulations that are more protective of existing industry rather than protective of the environment or what have you.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not talking about deregulating to allow you to just throw sewage into the river. We're talking about deregulating. Deregulating, certain things that you have, certain types of insurance and certain types of things that you have to have in place. That's the stranglehold on businesses come mostly from the regulation of existing businesses. Mm-hmm. Think like AT&T and them. They become the experts that go to Washington and say, "Hey, we need to regulate this business. Regulate us." Yeah. Right. Facebook did the same thing. Yeah. Regulate us. Right. Yeah. Regulate. You know why they want you to regulate them? Because they don't want other people to be able to come in and become Facebook and compete against Facebook.
That's right.
They want you to regulate them so that new people can't get in.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. Yeah. That's a problem. Those are the regulations that Donald Trump promised that he would, for every new regulation that was put forth, he would remove 2.
Yeah.
And he did that, and it made businesses flourish in the United States.
Well, and so in the debate, I don't think that he delivered that home as well as he could.
No, he didn't. And that's the frustrating part of it.
Yeah.
Is it's like, look, there were winning moments where he could have went in and just answered the question, gave his policy,
Yeah.
And then he could have went down the differentiation. He would go right to the differentiate.
Yeah.
You know, if she said this, he would respond, right? And she said, well, he's going to lie. Well, she lied all the time. Never fact checked by ABC.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there was at least 7-8 times that she flat out lied, used talking points from a long time ago that have all been debunked to try to show him as
okay.
To try to define
this
him.
Is where I agree that she won because because all of that wasn't being done by the host of the debate. It was a softball debate for her because it
right.
And my point is to the
but to say that she
let me finish.
Okay, go ahead.
The younger group that's going to watch this, the younger voters or the undecided voters, are the ones that are easily influenced but not educated, right, on the facts, the topics, and stuff like that. They're going to get their 8-second swipe and feel good about making that vote without having all the information. And they're going to go solely off of what she said versus what she can do or has done, because there's no evidence to support it and there was no policy. The real losers in this whole debate, and I'll agree with you on this, was the American people, because all we did was get a swipe right. I think all they did was all she did was tell us what we wanted to hear, or what she thinks, or what the Democratic Party wants us to hear as voters, whether we're Republican, undecided, independent, whatever. And then 2, where I feel like Donald Trump lost, is Donald has great policies. He has phenomenal policies, and he should have stood on those and delivered more of his policies and his plans. In several of his responses, he says, "We'll just wait and see." Because they asked him directly, what is your plan on, they talked about Medicaid. They talked about, not Obamacare, I'm sorry.
Obamacare.
On that one. And they said, well,
he
we'll
gave his full policy.
No, he did. He said, I'll keep what's in place, but I will not, I will look for ways to have it improved. That's the problem.
Well, how are you going to improve it? Well, he's like, listen, I'm not president right now.
Yeah.
But we know we're already working on how do we make, he said, yes. He admitted they wanted to walk back Obamacare back in 2016.
He tried to submit a plan, and
however, what they found out it was so ingrained that they couldn't just rip it out, because there's so much that there was so many people now.
Care.
What? So he was very presidential at that point, where he said, listen, we're going to make it as best as we can under the system it is, while we're looking for something else. That's what he said.
Right, I got
That's policy.
But all that did.
They wanted him to come down and say, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Well, you know what?
But if you watch,
let me pass it so that you can read it.
Right.
Then you can find out what's in it.
If you follow,
that's how we got Obamacare to begin with.
I 100% agree. But if you follow, he got the lead on the question, and his response, well, we'll see. You watch as we get closer to the whatever. And then she went right off on her pre-scheduled notes and answer that she had to it, and it.
But what did she say? I mean, it wasn't. She just said that he wanted to get rid of it.
She bashed him, and then he went right into rebuttal about it, and that he wanted to get. She lied, but again, this is what I hate about the truth is we're being.
You hate the truth?
No, I love the truth. People need to speak the truth.
Yeah.
But
you said this is what I hate about the truth.
Right.
I was like,
people
what is that?
are receiving lies and counting that as the truth. Just like in social media, you got to be careful. I mean, we have a platform right here. We talk, right?
Yeah.
We share our.
And we try to hold each other accountable.
We do.
Yes.
And yeah, I got it. We share our views and where they align and why we like a policy. But I'm not going to tell you to go that this policy is right for you. You need to make your own decision. But I'm going to educate you further than just the surface of the policy.
Right. The whole point of this show has always been to try to educate about the policies of what we're talking about. This discussion on the debate, again, I'll stand by it. The American people lost last night. We did not learn anything new. She did not give any new policies or say how she's going to do anything. She just said she's going to give $50,000 to every to small businesses, but she has no idea how she's going to pay for that. But when we know how she's going to pay for it, she's going to take money. She's going to tax all the other companies and all the other people so that they have to pay for that. And then those small businesses. Now, here's the thing: there may be some good stuff in that, right? There may be a good tax break for small business. I personally would think that there should be incubators within the United States. Some of the things that Donald Trump did with what's his name, Tim Scott. Is it Tim Scott?
Yeah.
Down in North Carolina? Mm-hmm. So where they made those opportunity zones. Right? She's talking about she wants to make an opportunity economy. They did that, right? They did that with Tim Scott and working with working with the president, and they put these opportunity zones together where you can incubate a small business. Those are the type of things that you need. Put these opportunity zones together where, if Brandenburg would become or someplace in Meade County would become an opportunity zone.
Yeah,
and that's where, hey, you have an idea for a new business in this area, right?
Yeah.
You go in there, tax free for the first year, right? No income tax, no taxes. You're just incubating. Maybe they have some cheap rent, some sort of rent, set up so that you can get started and help these people understand. Bring in people to educate you on how businesses are supposed to run. How do you do your taxes and things like that? Mm-hmm. Put those things together and educate people, because then that becomes a true entrepreneurial society.
Sure.
And I think those are the type of things that you do. That's how you invest in business, mm-hmm. so that new businesses can grow. You don't regulate them. You don't put more and more regulations on top of everyone, because then it breaks them down. So here's the thing. So out of last night, and just I'm gonna try to put a little pin in this. I think Trump still won on policy. I think Trump did a pretty good job of laying out policies where he could. I think he could have done a much better job. I think he could have answered questions, but she didn't answer questions either.
No.
Right? But he was always the one that ABC always come back and says, they tried to hold him accountable to the question, but they didn't really hold her accountable. Yeah. So Trump had to hold her accountable, which then fed into it. So he was against it. He wasn't just facing her, he was facing the moderators too.
Yeah, I know.
And the moderators didn't attack him,
no.
but they held him accountable, but they didn't hold her accountable.
No, yeah, and that's where I think there could have been a lot more. I know he did a little bit. But not, I guess, in the way I think he should have delivered it.
Oh, yeah.
Because I felt like I could respond to that and just slam her.
Oh,
with fewer,
you and me both.
With fewer words, and get my time back, and then go right back into policy.
I think he could have spent, and then overall, they said he's talked 5 minutes more than her. Yeah. Overall.
Yeah, but a lot of it was repetitive. That's what the problem with when he speaks. He says the same thing over and over again, and it eats up his time.
Yeah, he's not as articulate as we want him to be. He's great on policy. No. He's a great president. He's great at getting things done. But articulating that's why he uses questions, big words like hugely and bigly. He builds it up. Yeah, yeah. He's not building it up to
he's a mastermind. He hadn't been in business for no reason at all and not have that way with words.
Just needs to make sure that he is. He just needs to make sure that he is putting forth. He needs. If they do a debate again. They'll push for Fox because they've already done CNN, they've already done ABC.
Yeah,
they haven't, so they'll push for Fox. I don't think she'll go on Fox.
I know she won't.
I don't think that she will.
Party, they will hold both of them accountable.
They put it out pre-debate that they would look for another debate in October.
Yeah,
for an October date. And
if they did Brett Baer, I think that would be justice. Brett has always done well, I think, on as a debate, and his co-host on that show, I forget her name, and I apologize, but
Trump didn't. Trump actually said he would rather have somebody else, give somebody else a chance to do it, and do it. He didn't want Brett, and I can't remember her name either. Yeah.
At the end
he said
of the
he
day,
would, because he was on Fox this morning. If he saw
what
it.
I want from a debate, and the person that is asking the questions is I want the hard questions, and I want you to confrontational questions that ask you your soul in front of America.
Yeah.
And I want, okay, so, you know, when they used to do this and abortion was at the top of the list, and they used to go, you know, well, so you would do away with the abortion or whatever. You know, now that that's gone away, it's a whole different angle now.
I mean, that came up last night.
Yeah, it did, but it's
because they're trying to convince women to go vote for Kamala Harris.
100%.
And so they had to put the abortion question out there. Well, here's the thing: the abortion question. Let's talk about that for a second. Is, you know, it's where it should have been the entire time. It should have been at the state level. If Kentucky votes to say we don't want abortions in Kentucky, then okay, Kentucky doesn't have abortions. If Indiana,
that's why Roe v. Wade was turned down.
And then if we as pro-life, now we can go fight those fights on an individual basis, because we have, unfortunately, we balance ourselves between our Christian life, our Christian values say that abortion is wrong, and we should not have abortion. We should not allow abortion.
Because every life.
However, you know, we also have principles that say, I want to let people live the way they want to live, right? So it starts by saying, hey, California, if you want to have abortion, you know, you vote there, I'll vote mine. Now we have to put our effort into California to stop it, right? Well,
they sure do good on coming to our state and getting a wedge.
Yeah, they spend more money here trying to make sure that people can have abortions in Kentucky than they do in their own state. It's nuts how much money is spent in these smaller states. Kansas got tons of money spent on. And see, the thing is like the Kentucky law, they spent a lot of money in Kentucky defeating that amendment, right? However, the amendment never said
it doesn't change.
The amendment never changed anything, right? And so they spent tons of money here unnecessarily, because they couldn't finish. They couldn't, you know, the amendment was just to say that there is nothing in our state constitution or our state constitution that gives you an inherent right to an abortion, right? Well, right after that, after it happened, the state Supreme Court came in and said there is no inherent right. We would have the amendment just would have done the same thing. It just would have articulated it it would have codified it in the Constitution.
Right.
So they still lost. Well, they spent a ton of money here.
To correct, it just and even if they do come back with another amendment and they want it to be a woman's choice, that's fine. But if you receive a Medicaid or Medicare or a government subsidy, that is a decision between you and your doctor, and that's not something that the taxpayer is going to pay for. That's what the amendment would have prevented if the amendment was approved, because all it was saying is that, yes, it's illegal, and we will not spend any of the state tax dollars or federal tax dollars that come into the state to pay for that. So, and let's just face it, a lot of the abortion problem in the United States, nationwide, is because of low-income families who are being guided by Planned Parenthood and those programs. Planned Parenthood, and there is a profit that comes from aborted children. And
Planned Parenthood is twofold. One, there's a profit because
huge profit from
they make a huge profit off the aborted fetuses.
That's right.
Because then they sell those for stem cell research and all that. But then there's also the original plan, which is to reduce the population.
Yeah.
So I mean, the biggest problem is that people have gotten it in their minds that humans are bad for the planet.
Just like cows.
Yeah, well, no, they believe cows. They believe humans are worse. And so if we can reduce the number of humans on the planet, then the planet will, it'll equalize itself.
There was a time in our own nation's history where we did the same thing. We were British, we came over here and we said if we could get rid of the Indians, it would be better for the Americans. You know what I mean? And we reduced the Indian populations and just took over their lands. So they keep going down this battle. I mean, you can do side-by-side comparisons throughout history, but we are teaching ourselves the same lesson.
That was Andrew Jackson, right?
Yeah, and yeah. So anyway, the bottom line is that
he sent them into Georgia, and that started the whole push west.
All of this is greed. All of this is the westward movement.
Yeah.
All of this is greed founded. It gets against, the in God we trust is there for a reason. It's the set of principles that we all follow. I think that every normal human being can agree that the commandments that were given to us by God in the Bible are a great representation of how we should live our lives. Whether you believe or don't believe, that was the foundation. Hence why in God we trust is part of our stuff. That's my First Amendment right to continue to say that. It is what our founding fathers had spent on. And all I can say is that this is the first time in my lifetime as a voter and as a human and as a privileged citizen of the United States of America. I'm grateful to have been born in this country. But what I saw last night, a person gift wrapped and handed to the people for a party without having to be on the stand. All the people that came before her in the last 12 months that had campaigned or politically opposed the principles of the party or something about the candidates that were running for office and ran in a primary, went to state fairs across the nation and answered tough questions by citizens and said, well,
and she got to bypass all of that.
And she got to bypass all of that.
Touched by the party.
And now all of a sudden has the greatest idea on the planet to put up a border wall or defend, I just, how many times do we have to be told to our face one thing, but we physically can see the truth unfolding before our eyes and we still select.
Have you ever seen the movie Wag the Dog?
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's it's like, this is what we're doing, but this is really over here. Yeah. We're doing this, but we're showing you this.
I just said that earlier in the podcast too. So I was like, I don't know. So disappointed, I think, on the same level that you are. That the real
I was frustrated. I just don't think that Trump did as badly as maybe.
I didn't say he did bad. I did not say that.
Well, I mean,
I just was disappointed because I expected more from him, especially given the performance that he did during the Biden debate.
Yeah, and so we'll see. I mean, I don't expect the polls to move much off of that.
Well,
I mean,
we'll see.
If she gets
Give it
a bump,
couple of days, and
I mean, I haven't seen today's. If there's, I don't know if anybody did an overnight poll.
No, the news cycle right now is going to take a while on this one.
Well, yeah, it's going to be. I mean, the true effect will be 4 to 5 days out, probably.
Now, he did get a lot of coverage on Fox this morning. He dialed in. They were asking him some tough questions, and he commented a little bit more this morning. But these are the comments that we probably should have heard last night, not this morning after he's had time to reflect. But and I'm sure both candidates have.
Well, he thinks he did awesome. And that's because in his mind,
as he should,
no, he should. And I'm not saying that he shouldn't. What I'm saying is he thinks he did really, really well. He doesn't understand what people are. He doesn't always understand why people get frustrated with that, with that performance, because in his mind, attacking her and her policies and stuff, and he attacked her policies more than he didn't really attack her. Mm-hmm. He said, but you did this, and it caused inflation.
His closing remarks were brilliant.
Yes. Wait, if you just went on those closing remarks, he wins.
If he'd done that throughout the whole
he
debate,
did bring up some of those things earlier in the debate, but it was kind of like washed over a little bit.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
But he brought it home in the end, and I think that did him some justice. But most people don't get to the end because it starts getting, okay, really? and then they turn off their TV and wait for the highlights in the morning. You know what I mean? So the 8-second swipe probably happened a lot last night. So.
Yeah, I don't know how you can 8-second swipe that, but.
Well, somebody will put together clips and reels of sound bites that will obviously portray one over the other, and algorithms will be running today through the rest of this week on the performance of that debate, and that's what will kick up. That's what I'm saying. That's why I think in performance, it was a great performance. But again, that's acting on behalf of Kamala Harris. I think it was a great show. She did a great job acting. I don't think that based on the policy.
I thought they said it well. They said this was based on her. She was using her prosecutors, her prosecutorial demeanor to try to get under his skin, to get him to say stuff that she wanted him to say. But he did and he didn't. He went down these trails, but it's like. She needed to follow up with substance, and she didn't have substance. There was no substance in her.
Don't disagree.
She said. It was all. It was all facade. It was all. Vote for me because I'm not as mean.
Well,
vote for me. I'm not mean.
Yeah, when you answered your,
I'm like that's nuts.
Yeah, when you answered your call, I was talking about fracking and how we had this big great promise.
I heard it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Sorry about the call. It was a doctor's office. I think so.
So again, as I was saying, they straight up looked at all of us in the eye and said, I am not going to kill the pipeline. Said it to every Pennsylvania resident when they campaigned, and what happened within a week of making office. The pipeline was shut down.
The Keystone, which is the Canada, right?
Comes through Pennsylvania. Right.
And they say, we signed all these, there's all these new leases for energy, but they're not the leases that make energy cheaper. It's leases on energy, on pulling oil and such out of the ground. That's harder to get to, right? And they know that. They know that, though.
I know. It's a swipe answer.
Yep. And so, and it's just, please out there, be careful. Be careful when you're making these decisions. When you look at this and say whether you think that Trump won or Harris won, whatever. The thing is that this comes down to principles. It comes down to policy. I think that Donald Trump still holds the high ground on policy. He's proven it. He proved it because he knows that the number one thing you have to do is get energy prices down so that businesses so businesses and homes can get their budgets under control.
Speaking of budget, I'm going to give you a number. All right, so 33.3 million. Excuse me. I'm sorry. 33.3 million.
1/3 of 100 million.
Yeah, 33.3 million times $50,000 is $1,665 billion. $1,665 trillion
for small businesses.
For small businesses to receive a 50,000. Where does 1 trillion? We're already in debt over
1.6 trillion.
1.6 trillion. Well, actually, 1.67 trillion dollars. We're already in debt to China for trillions.
30. Was it 31 trillion or something like that?
31 trillion.
That's not all in China, but yes, most of it's owned by China.
What household spends that? I mean, everybody's tight right now. The credit card usage debt on American families is up. It's skyrocketed.
Oh yeah, way up. But it's funny when I popped up my laptop this morning. That's the first thing that popped up.
So you can do this. Google search it. It says how many small businesses are in the United States. 3.3 million is going to pop up.
130. I think it's $130 billion in credit card debt increase or something like that.
Well, right. I'm just talking. Yes. Right. But no family is going to take out more debt than they can manage. Otherwise, we'll be having tons of bankruptcy. Honestly, our country, I don't understand how we can have the greatest economy when we owe so many other people money, and there are other people that owe us money and we don't collect. So I don't know of any business situation where that makes sense.
Well, now they try to give it away. They give. They don't loan. Yeah. And so that's the other thing that Trump said, not in the debate last night, but would have been a nice one is to say, why do we have to give Ukraine money? Why don't we just loan Ukraine money?
Thank you.
Right. Mm-hmm. If we loan Ukraine money, then it helps them, and then at the same time,
and they win, they can pay us back.
They can pay us back, and then at the same time, we can say, look, let's. At the same time, if they can't pay it back, then after that we can talk about, well, maybe you do some loan forgiveness or something like that to keep them afloat. But anyway, thank you all for joining us today about last night's debate. It was again one of those. It's one of those debates. It's one more thing that we're in the times that we're living in right now, where it's just strange. We had a former president on stage debating a presidential candidate that has not won a primary, and
oh, by the way, when they did run for presidential office, they were so low, and
they dropped out first. They dropped before they even got to the first vote.
Yeah.
So, but let me just say this: it's interesting times. But you need to get out and help your candidate.
Yeah.
If you want to get involved, give us a call, 270-945-3418. Come out, help the candidates. You can donate. You can
buy signs.
You can buy gear. You can help make phone calls. There's a lot of things going on out there where you can get involved and help out. So give us a call, 270-945-3418. We would love to hear from you. Monday night at 7 p.m. At the 2714 Brandenburg Road is our monthly Republican Party meeting. Please come out and join us and get involved.
Very good. Guys, thanks for coming back and seeing us again this week. I cannot wait to see you next week. Mark, I'm sure we're going to have a lot more to talk about as the week goes on.
Absolutely. So we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Oh, hey, one more thing before you go. Nancy Tate fundraiser tonight, Backstreet Cafe, Muldra.
Oh, I'm so glad you put that out there.
September 11th. It's going to start around 6 o'clock. Oh, I'm sorry, 6:37. Be there, be square. It is a fundraiser. Bring your checkbook. It's a great opportunity to meet your candidate. She is working hard for us and you. So hope to see you there. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.